My name is Laura. You know that already. And this is a process recording for my social work generalist practice class. We talked about confidentiality, and you know that your name will not be used or your image won't be shown during this video. You signed a confidentiality form. I have it here. I'll be turning it into my teacher. Process recording interviews are not role plays. We're going to talk about actual things occurring in your life, and it's important part of the process. Me honing my interviewing skills. So then I'll make a record. I will make a summation of our interview and turn it into my instructor, but it won't be shown to anyone else. Actually, the video will be shown to someone else, but you're not in the video, so it's okay. Okay, so when we won't be using your real name. So for purposes of this interview, Susan, um, we'll be using the name Susan. So thank you for participating. So how are things?
Things are well. I feel good.
You feel good? Um, I know you started a new job not too long ago and are working very hard at that.
I spend a lot of time working. I do,
Yeah.
but I think it's best for me to stay busy.
Yeah.
I don't like to be bored.
No. And I know that you're in school considering becoming a nurse.
I need to take my CNA exam sometime between now and January, the end of January, and then I can apply for the nursing program in
Oh.
February.
Very cool. I didn't know there was an exam.
For the CNA, it's a state board.
A state board. Is that new? No, I just didn't know. Huh, that's interesting. And what's involved in that?
You have to do a practical where you go in and they ask you to show you these skills and you have to perform that skill
Oh,
with all the required things. And then there's a written test also.
I got you. And so then you will apply for nursing school, and when you're done with nursing school, your dream job would be like in what? I mean, obviously in the field of nursing, but a specialty, not a specialty.
I was thinking about being a flight nurse or a neonatal nurse, but I don't know if I can handle the trauma with the babies yet. So I'll have to figure that
A
out further on.
flight nurse. That sounds very cool.
It's pretty interesting. I think it'll be fun and kind of exciting. I like to be kept on my toes.
So then, flight nurse, like that's where you're on the helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
super
and you
cool.
do like transport of patients, and you can ride the helicopter to the emergency, stuff like that.
That's really cool. I can see you doing that. I totally can.
I've been thinking about it.
Yeah. Um, so I know that you, um, I wouldn't call it a though it's a health concern, I wouldn't call it a health concern, but I mean, because it's not, it's completely managed. But so I know that you've been diabetic since you were very young,
Yeah, I got diagnosed with diabetes when I was 4 years old.
four. And how do you think, or do you even think, maybe you don't think that it has affected your um, upbringing, your outlook, your relationship with peers, or do you think it has?
I don't really think it affects my relationship. I do think it affects the, I want to say, like the ability to do things that are kind of like free kind of things. Like, if I want to go swimming, like I can't just jump in the pool. Like it's
All
a
right.
very long thought process. If I want to go on vacation, I have to pack like that extra bag, but it's nothing that holds me back.
Yeah. And I didn't mean to imply relationship, like your romantic relationship or whatever, but like I would think it would be a little bit hard when you were well, when you're 4 years old, you're not even in school yet. So, like first, second, third grade, do you know what I mean?
I
Like
know
explaining to people.
all the way through, like even going to daycare, that the daycare workers would not give me my own insulin. My parents have to come and take time off work and every time, every lunch and breakfast and dinner, they had to go to daycare and give me insulin.
Oh, wow.
I was not
I
given
did not know
insulin
that.
by the daycare workers.
Wow. And so then at what age, but you were an insulin pump now?
I got a pump when I turned
Oh,
5 or 6, I think, and that definitely helped. Not specifically me managing, but helping others help me manage because I was not capable of
sure.
counting carbs and
Right.
giving that stuff. But no one wants to stick a 4-year-old with a needle.
Right.
It's a lot easier to press a button than it is
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
you know.
Right. And I have known you since donkey's years, since you were like 8.
8? I'm
Yeah.
gonna say 8.
Yeah. But I think that if you didn't know, if I didn't know, I wouldn't know. And I think that speaks to your resiliency and your ability. Do you know what I mean? Like just take it in stride, and you know,
I think I try my best to just keep on rolling. I don't want anything to hold me back. I mean, there are times when I'm like, okay, I should probably eat right now instead of doing this instead.
right,
Or, taking care of myself comes first. A lot of people can just go on throughout their day and forget to eat, stuff like that. But I do have like that set schedule and like the things that I need to do every day to make sure that I feel okay. Because if I'm
yeah,
not okay, then how
right,
am I going to move on? How am I
sure,
going to help
right,
other people,
right,
especially in my line of work right now? So
yeah. You have a great outlook about it. And none of you have many siblings,
I have
many,
14.
of course. Right.
I have to make sure I pick the right number.
Yeah.
I have 14 siblings. I have diabetes, and besides me having the health condition, my little brother, who is 9, has muscular dystrophy.
And um, do you think that um,
I think his illness affects him a lot more than mine affects me, just because of his being a physical disability and the things that hold him back. And even though he's only 9, he knows he's not capable of some things that other kids are capable of.
sure? Do you? I was going to say. I mean, and that's a great point. But I was going to say, do you feel like you can relate to that more than maybe your other
Definitely.
siblings?
I definitely relate to him a lot more than, not like I love him more or
No,
anything,
right?
but
Sure.
I can definitely, when he's struggling, like I understand like where he's coming from, or when he's having difficulties, like, and I know like a lot of the other kids are like, oh, come on, let's go, like, or get up off your butt, let's go.
Right.
And I kind of like understand like he's struggling, and it can be upsetting when you want to do something but you can't.
Sure.
Like when my blood sugar is low, but I really want to go run a mile. Not that I would ever run a mile, but like, you have to deal with yourself first. But for him, he doesn't really have that option to fix it and move on. He just kind of has to sit it out. And I sympathize and empathize a lot with that.
Yeah. What would you say? Because I know it was difficult for your mom, especially. I've never actually talked to your dad about it, but I know that was difficult for your mom when you were first diagnosed, because I think she was so afraid. You know what I mean? Or and a little bit of guilt, like, did I do something to cause this? Or
I think even just looking back at like that year for us was very traumatic for everyone. Um, it is the year that we immigrated to America. We immigrated here in September, and
on
then
September 11th,
on September,
ironically, yeah,
2 days before, so
right,
September 9th,
right,
2001, and that February I got diabetes. And you prepare yourself for coming to a new country, and you sell all your stuff, and you get ready to look for jobs and all that stuff, and then you kind of get hit like a bus when your
sure,
daughter's diagnosed with diabetes, and
right,
all the money that you had saved, and everything just kind of goes out the window. And I know we really did struggle for a long time with that. We didn't have money for a lot of it, and we had times where like people were helping my mom like get money so they could buy insulin for me. And I think looking back, I mean, everyone looks for someone to blame, but there's no one that can accept the blame. It's not anyone's fault. Shit happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I and I didn't mean that she should. There's something that she should feel
No,
guilty
I
about. But I
think
think as a parent, you're looking for like, oh my gosh, did I somehow cause this?
I think she's. I mean, I'm sure the thought had run through her head at one point, but I think now we've all come to terms with it, and it just makes it a lot more just kind of to deal with it and move on. And I think it has built resilience for our family, not just me, and that stuff happens and we just have to deal with it and move on instead of being afraid or feeling guilty for things that have already happened because you can't change them.
Right. And I was going to ask you that if you feel like, I mean, obviously, I don't, I'm not sure if you can concretely say because you haven't had a relationship with a parent when you were not diabetic since the age of 5. Do you know what I mean? But you have um, enough siblings to see the dynamic of the relationship of other relationships that your parents have, and I know that um, lots of kids that you're in your family have been adopted at different ages, but there are some that are a few that were came at a very young age, like at birth even. So
Yeah. My the one that we received the youngest was 2 days old.
right.
And her head fit in the palm of my hand and her toes didn't even fit in like my elbow.
Right.
They weren't even she
Yeah.
wasn't that long. She was like practically
I
see-through.
remember. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember like it was yesterday and I was like, I don't want to touch her.
Right.
I'm like, she's okay over there. Like
Yeah.
I'm just gonna watch her. But I just think that you can't have the same relationship with every single person. Everyone has that different
Right.
dynamic. And I think because of like my diabetes and because of my personality that the relationship that I have with my parents is definitely not going to be the same as with other kids.
Sure.
But I also think that it makes me a very stubborn person at the same time. It makes me stubborn and not wanting to break down for things that are like not important, and I think that because my little sister was 2 days old when she came, like she is not like that. She hasn't exactly been through a traumatic experience.
Right. No, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does she well, do you think that like so when it was just your when you have two siblings that are close in age to you that immigrated with you, and so before the rest of the kids came, which was
When I
6
was the
7 8
baby.
years later, but so when you were do you think that and I'm just curious, I'm not gonna like tell your mom what you say, but I mean, did you feel like um well, you were hard to tell, right? Because you were the baby anyway.
I
Yeah.
was spoiled.
No,
know
I
that,
mean,
but
well, I just mean like, did you feel like your parents were overprotective because of your,
never.
no? Uh-uh.
No, I think my parents did a really great job of just throwing me out there and they're like, don't pity yourself, get up on your feet and do what you need to do for yourself. And I feel
Right.
like that's a really big theme in our family,
Right.
not just our relationships,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
it's kind of like if you want something, then go get it.
Right.
Oh, well, you have diabetes. Shit happens.
Deal. Right.
Move on.
Yeah.
And I think the same with my little brother too, is I think he knows he's weaker. He can't do other things that other kids can do, but he wants to. And
Right.
he is stubborn as hell.
Right.
And he will do whatever he wants, whether you tell
Right.
him not to. So.
And I think that I mean, in my observation, I think obviously he gets some of that from your mom and he gets some of that from your dad. And that's a really hard subject that we should not talk about is your little brother because I never talk about it.
It's hard.
Just too hard to go there. Okay, well, It's okay. I don't know why you're apologizing to me.
It is a
um,
hard subject.
yeah. Um, I, you know, I'll say that I, I think that you're, you know, super great, but you know how much I love you. So, um, and that, you know, it's impressive that you haven't let it affect you. And now I'm going to cry about your brother. Um, so anyway, sorry I made us cry.
I think the most important thing, not just for me, but like as our family as a whole, is that we push each other to do better and we push each other to not let our limits actually limit us. Because there, I mean, their road gets bumpy, but you still have to keep going on. And I think we all have our flaws, like we all have things that we wish were different, but moving down the road, like you couldn't change it, so it's either get over it or carry it with you, and it's a lot easier to get over it in the end.
Right? You should put that on a t-shirt, right? Get over it or carry it with you. There you go. All right. Well, thanks for talking to me.
Thanks for interviewing me.
All right. Bye. They could stop. That's okay. I don't ever talk about Jane.
I feel like it's really taboo